Morning students. Okay, today we are going to be dealing with this exercise, with this drawing for our exercise 4, and I have posted it here on WhatsApp so that you can be able to look at it before we start. So you can see in this particular one, we are given a site which is an earth, and then there is a layout of the drawing inside our layout. In this one we've got trees, and we've got stumps in this particular drawing, and you can see here is the floor plan of our building. So we have been asked to clear site, so which means that this is the part that we are only going to be clearing. We're not going to be clearing from boundary to boundary. So let's start with our site works. So you can see we still write the same description, and we do the same calculations to get our square meter, and then we are going to deduct, because you can see in this particular one that we do have a setback here, and you can see we've got 400 and 270, and then we're also going to have 2840 plus 270, and then we're going to move on. And in this particular drawing, because we are only clearing site, it means that we are not going to consider those trees that are outside our floor plan. So we're only going to take into consideration those two trees and those two stumps. So you can see over here we've written our trees, we've written our stumps, and because they're written in diameter, we've converted them to girth, and also here it's diameter converted to girth and radius converted to girth using the formulas that we did in class. And then we can see, then we do our cut down trees, and then T1, it's exceeding 5, not exceeding 1000, and then T2 is exceeding 4000, not exceeding 500. And then S2, which is our stump, exceeds 1000, does not exceed 1.5. And then our S1 exceeds 500, does not exceed 3000. And that brings us to the end of our site works. Okay, so let's start with our collects. We can see from our drawing here and our section that we've got a 270 and we've got a 110 brick wall. So we are going to start with our 270 cavity wall in superstructure. And we've been given over here that our superstructure dimension is 2635. So we have it as 2635 millimeters high. And then we get our dimensions for the horizontal multiplied by 2, the vertical multiplied 2. We get a cross center line, which we do our deducts for the corners. And then we get our center line, which we then transfer to our dimensions column. We do the same thing for our foundation wall. Now we need to go back to our drawing and look at, there is our foundation wall. We've been given that from the DPC to natural ground level is 350, and then we also need to determine then what is going to be that distance from natural ground level to the top of our footing. So in this instance, we've been given that from natural ground level to the bottom of our footing we have 680. Our footing height is 300, so if we minus 300 from that, we get 380, which we add to the 350, and that is how we get our 730, which is the foundation height. Then we move on to our concrete, 15 concrete in footing. Again, we go and we check the width of our concrete is 7, the height of our concrete is 300. So those are the dimensions that I have there. Then remember, from B, I have my center line, which I then transfer to that. And then I excavate for trenches. In this instance, we've been given the trench depth, which is 680, because it starts from natural ground level to the bottom of our footing. So, and the width of our trench is 700 millimeters deep. And then from C, we get our center line, which we transfer to our dimensions column. Then we move on to our 110 brick wall. We go to our section. There is our 110 brick wall. It's got a 600 millimeter diameter width of a footing, and the footing height is the same. It's 300. Everything is the same with regards to those dimensions. So we still have a height of 2635. So we are going to write 110 brick wall in superstructure, 2635 millimeters high. And then now we need to determine what is going to be our horizontal and what is going to be our vertical dimension. So let's go to the drawing. So for our horizontal, we take that full as our horizontal, our first horizontal. So we know already that we've got 470, where we can then deduct the 270 and the 270 on either side, and that gives us, then we get 5930, and then we move on. Then we have our next horizontal line. Now you can see here, let me just okay, here let me just rub this off so you can be able to see. You can see here that you've got these two lines, and that it tells you that over there you've got an arch. So remember, we said all openings, we treat them as if they are not there, we measure through. So which means that that horizontal line, we are going to shade that whole horizontal line, and we're going to take its dimension from there up until the end. So we already know that this dimension is 2820, and that 2820, I add the 110 so that I can end over there, and then I also come and take that horizontal dimension over there. So you can see then I've got my horizontals as 5930, 2930, and 4260, which give me 13,120. And then I come back. Now remember, because I've measured this line through, which means that my vertical is going to end before. It's not going to come and end at the bottom of my line. It's going to end there. So then I take that dimension, which is now going to be 2760 for my vertical. And then I come here, and then I'm also going to measure in between my walls for my vertical for this one. So I'm going to take that dimension as is, and it's 1,800. And then I am going to come here and also take my dimensions. Remember, I took that part, that whole part as part of my horizontal. So which means that my vertical is going to start from here up until there, and already I know that dimension is 3210. So then I have my dimensions 3210, 1800, and 2760, which give me 770. So I add the two together, and I get my center line for my 110 brick wall, which I then transfer to my dimensions column as 20.89. And then I move on to my 110 brick wall in foundations, right? The height of that from E, I get my center line, which I also transfer to my dimensions column. And then I come to my concrete and footings. Now you can see, if we go back to our drawing, you've got your 110 meeting your 270 over there, which is 1. Again, that's 2. Then that's 3. That's 4. That's 5. And that is 6. So it meets our 110 meets our 270 brick wall in 6 areas. So again, when we are deducting our T's, we are going to take the dimensions for our 270 brick wall. So we say 700 minus 270, we get 430, which we divide by 2, and we get that the projection is 215. So we are going to measure that 215 by 6, because that is the number of times that we have T's of a 270 meeting a 110 brick wall, which gives us 1,290. And then we're also going to note that we've got areas like this one here, and there, and there, and there, where we have our 110 brick wall meeting itself. So we are going to take the section drawing dimensions, which is 600 for the concrete width, minus the 110, which is the wall, and we get 490, which we divide by 2 to get 245. And the 110 with brick wall makes a T with itself 4 times, so we multiply 245 by 4, and we get 980. So the 1290 and the 980 we minus from the 2890, and we get a new center line, which is 18,620, which is what we are going to transfer to our dimensions column. And then we are going to lastly excavate for our footings, for our trenches, and we already know that the width of the excavation is 600 and the height is 680 millimeters deep. Then we say from G we take the center line, which is 18,620, and then we are going to transfer that to our dimensions column, and that is going to bring us to the end of our collects. We have our A written there, our B, and our page number.